What if one of humanity's most uncomfortable emotions has quietly shaped the course of civilization? Envy. Few people admit feeling it, yet everyone has experienced it. A friend succeeds. A colleague receives a promotion. Someone else builds the life we dreamed of. In that moment, something awakens inside us. A quiet voice asks, "Why them and not me?" For centuries, envy has been condemned as one of the 7 deadly sins. Religions warned against it. Philosophers described it as a poison of the soul. But modern psychology tells a more complicated story. What if envy is not simply a flaw, but an ancient survival mechanism? Long before cities, before governments, before written language, our ancestors lived in small tribes. Status mattered. The strongest hunter often received more respect. The most skilled gatherer had greater influence. Those who learned from successful individuals often improved their own chances of survival. Comparing ourselves to others was not a mistake. It was an evolutionary advantage. The human brain became remarkably sensitive to social comparison. Even today, our minds constantly measure who is stronger, who is smarter, who is more successful, who has more resources. Psychologists call this social comparison theory. According to this theory, people naturally evaluate themselves by comparing their lives with those around them. Without comparison, it becomes difficult to judge our own progress. But comparison creates 2 very different paths. The first is destructive envy. It whispers, "If I can't have it, no one should." The second is inspirational envy. It asks, "If they achieved it, what can I learn from them?" The emotion is the same. The outcome is completely different. One destroys, the other transforms. Perhaps envy itself is neither good nor evil. Perhaps it is simply energy. Energy that can become resentment or ambition. Throughout history, this single emotion has quietly fueled invention, competition, art, science, and discovery. The question has never been whether envy exists. The real question is what we choose to do with it. Because the same feeling that can poison a life can also inspire greatness. And history offers remarkable proof. History is filled with extraordinary achievements, but behind many of them stood an invisible force: competition. The desire to become better than yesterday, or better than someone else. When guided by purpose, envy can become one of humanity's greatest engines of progress. Consider 2 inventors, Thomas Edison and Nikola Tesla. They approached electricity in very different ways. Their rivalry pushed innovation forward at an incredible pace. New discoveries emerged. New technologies transformed everyday life. The competition between ideas changed the modern world. The same pattern appeared on an even greater scale. In 1957, the Soviet Union launched Sputnik, the first artificial satellite. The United States was shocked. Almost overnight, the space race began. Nations invested billions. Scientists worked around the clock. Engineers solved problems once thought impossible. Only 12 years later, human beings stood on the surface of the moon. competition had accelerated one of humanity's greatest achievements. The Olympic Games tell a similar story. Every athlete dreams of standing on the highest step of the podium. Watching another person break a world record often inspires thousands of others to train harder. Each generation pushes the limits a little further. Records are broken, then broken again. Progress becomes contagious. The business world follows the same principle. Companies compete to build faster computers, safer cars, more powerful smartphones, smarter artificial intelligence. Every breakthrough encourages another. Every innovation forces competitors to improve. Consumers benefit from the race. Civilization moves forward. Psychologists describe this as upward comparison. When we see someone performing at a higher level, our brain has two possible responses. We can feel defeated, or we can feel inspired. The emotion is almost identical. The decision is entirely different. Some of history's greatest creators openly admired the people they competed against. Their rivals became their greatest teachers. Competition challenged their assumptions, exposed their weaknesses, forced them to grow. Perhaps the greatest breakthroughs in history were never created in isolation. Perhaps they emerged because someone looked at another person's success and quietly thought, "I can do better." Without comparison, there may be less pressure to improve. Without competition, innovation may slow. Without the courage to learn from those ahead of us, progress itself might become impossible. Yet every powerful force has another side. The same emotion that can inspire greatness can also quietly destroy happiness. And today, that darker side is more visible than ever before. Today, comparison follows us everywhere. It no longer waits for the marketplace, the workplace, or the village square. It lives in our pockets. Every time we open a social media app, we are presented with carefully selected moments from other people's lives. Their achievements, their vacations, their relationships, their success. Rarely their struggles. Rarely their failures. Rarely the ordinary moments that make up real life. Our brains, however, often forget that difference. Instead of comparing our everyday reality to someone else's everyday reality, we compare our behind the scenes to their highlight reel. Psychologists have found that constant social comparison can increase anxiety, lower self-esteem, and reduce life satisfaction. Not because our lives suddenly become worse, but because someone else's appears better. Envy quietly changes its form. It no longer asks, "How can I improve?" It begins asking, "Why don't I have what they have?" The focus shifts from growth to resentment, from inspiration to frustration. But there is another choice. Instead of asking, "Why them?" we can ask, "What can I learn from them?" That single question transforms envy into curiosity. Curiosity becomes action. Action becomes growth. The emotion has not changed, only its direction has. This is one of the most powerful lessons in psychology. We cannot always choose what we feel, but we can choose what we do with those feelings. History proves this again and again. The greatest inventors studied other inventors. Great athletes learned from champions. Successful entrepreneurs examined their competitors. The goal was never to become someone else. The goal was to become a better version of themselves. Perhaps envy is not the enemy. Perhaps unconscious envy is. When comparison happens without awareness, it steals peace. When comparison becomes intentional, it can fuel transformation. The future will always place us beside people who are stronger, smarter, wealthier, or more accomplished. That will never change. The real question is not whether comparison will happen. It will. The real question is, what story will you tell yourself when it does? Will someone else's success become the reason you stop trying, or the reason you begin? Because history has shown that envy can either build a prison or open a door. And in the end, the difference is not found in the emotion itself. It is found in the mindset of the person experiencing it. Perhaps the greatest achievement is not becoming better than everyone else. Perhaps it is becoming better than the person you were yesterday.